Hi all, a very good day to all. Myself Kartika, Assistant Professor, Computer Science and Engineering in Banariaman Institute of Technology. Hope all are doing well.
In our previous classes, we have discussed about DAG. DAG is nothing but it is a direct acyclic graph, and this is used for eliminating the common sub-expressions. We have discussed about some examples in DAGs, and we have also discussed about basic blocks and flow graphs. So basic blocks, what is mean by basic blocks? A basic block contains a set of code sequence that follow a sequential execution. Okay, so basic block code sequence is entered at the beginning and exited only at the end. So basic block is defined as a sequence of instructions with single entry and exit. Okay, for example, if the first instruction is present in the basic block B1, then the remainder of the basic blocks, that is basic block 2, basic block 3, basic block 4 will be executed in sequence. Okay, the instructions that are going to be executed in sequence will be represented within a single basic block. Next, basic block optimizations. So we will use the following techniques for optimizing the basic blocks. One is structure preserving transformation, copy propagation, constant propagation, renaming of compiler generated temporaries to shared storage. And this structure preserving transformations is once again subdivided into local common sub-expression elimination and dead code elimination. Building expression DAGs. So we have discussed what is mean by DAGs and how to build a DAG for an expression. We all know that in a DAG, the leaves will contain the initial values and the internal nodes are labeled by operators. So second label is nothing but it is a list of identifiers whose value is that node itself. So mapping from each identifier to the DAG node will contains its value at exit of the basic block. This is how we will build an expression with DAG. For example, so the three address code we have taken is A is equal to B plus C, B is equal to A minus D, C is equal to B plus C, and D equal to A minus D. We will use an algorithm called de Grier's algorithm for evaluating this three address code. What this de Grier's algorithm mention means, we have to process the three address statements that is given as an input in order, and we have to check if the operand is a constant. If the operand is a constant, we have to substitute it. If all the operands are constant, we have to do the operation and add value to the table associated with L value. Okay, so if operands are not constant, we have to delete any table entry for this L value. So these steps are provided by de Grier's for processing the three address statements. Now let us construct a DAG for the given three address statement. So this is the three address statement given. How we will construct a DAG? So first we will add B and C. So B and C will be added and the result is stored in A. Then we will subtract A and D and the result is stored in B. So A is present in this node, the value of A is present in this node. So A and D value is subtracted and the result is stored in B, right? Then next B plus C is added. So where B is present? B is present here. Where C is present? C is present here. So both are added and the result is stored in C. Okay, so B and C is added and the result is stored in C. And finally A minus D equal to D. See, already we have constructed A minus D sub expression. So A minus D is constructed where? It is constructed B. So in both B and D holds the same value. So where B is present, the value of B is present here. Okay, since once again this common sub expression is executed, the result of A minus D is overridden by which? Overridden by D. Okay, now which variable will contain the result of A minus D? D will contain the result of A minus D. So this is called as common sub expression elimination. So after eliminating this common sub-expression, the optimized 3 address statements is represented here. See, A equal to B plus C, and from the previous DAG, we have eliminated what? We have eliminated B, isn't it? So B is equal to what? A minus D, and once again while executing the fourth statement, there is the same common expression is once again evaluated. So the result of B is stored where? Is stored D. So we have eliminated B, and instead of B we are going to represent it with what? We are going to represent it with D. So wherever B comes, we have to represent it with D. Okay. So here instead of B we will write D is equal to A minus D. Then C is equal to B plus C. So here also we are having B. Since we have eliminated B and replaced it with D, instead of B we have to write what? We have to write D. So C is equal to D plus C. And here D equal to A minus D. So this expression is evaluated here itself. So this is removed finally. This is how a common sub-expression will be eliminated after optimization of the 3 address statements. Next, dead code elimination. So dead code elimination is nothing but we will be deleting any node from a DAG that is not presently live. Okay, presently live means that particular value of that variable has to be used repeatedly. If a value of a particular variable is not used for a particular amount of time, that variable becomes dead. Okay, now let us check with an example. See here, we are having a 3 address statement: A equal to B plus C, B is equal to B minus D, C is equal to C plus D, E equal to B plus C. Let us draw a DAG for this. So first we will draw B plus C. So B and C is here. So we will add B and C, and the result is stored in A, right? Next we will subtract B and D, and the result is stored in B. So where B is present? B is present here, B is present here, and D is present here. We will subtract B and D, and the result is stored by B. Now the value of B has changed. So in the first expression, the value of B is different, whereas in the second expression, the value of B is different. Okay. Next, third expression, C is equal to C plus D. So C have not changed. See here, we are using C and D, and we are adding it, and we are storing the result in C. So in the third expression, the value of C is changed. Okay. In the second expression, the first value of B is changed, and in the third expression, the first value of C is changed. Next, what is E? E equal to B plus C. Now here this B and C should use what? Should use the current value of B and C. So where the current value of B is stored? Current value of B is stored here. Where the current value of C is stored? Current value of C is stored here. So we have to add these two current values, and the result is stored where? The result is stored in E. So from this example, if we check, while evaluating the expressions in sequence, after evaluating the second expression, the value of the first B has changed, and after evaluating the third expression, the value of the first C has changed. So both first values of B and C are added, and the result is stored where? A. So after executing the successive statements, both B and C first value has changed completely. So now the value of A becomes what? The value of A becomes useless, because while executing the sequence of statements, in the sequence, the previous value has changed and we haven't reused that values. So the old values of B and C has been changed, and the variable A that holding the old values of B and C becomes dead now. So after that, we will be eliminating this dead variable A. So that is called as dead code elimination. Hope you understand. So while evaluating a sequence of instruction, if a value for a variable becomes dead, that is, if a value for a variable has not used for a long time, then that variable becomes dead. and that dead variable has to be eliminated while optimizing the code fragments. Next, algebraic transformations. See, algebraic identities is also another important class of optimization on basic blocks. We have to try the simple algebraic transformations during optimizations. For example, we can either write x plus 0 or 0 plus x as x, and we can write x minus 0 as x, and instead of multiplying x into 1 or 1 into x, we can write x directly, and x by 1, x divided by 1 can be written as x directly. So these are some of the algebraic identities. Then another class of algebraic optimization includes reduction in strength. That is, we will replace a expensive operator by a cheaper one. For example, here x into double asterisk 2. So this means what? This means x square. So instead of writing x square, we can write like this, x into x. That is cheaper. Then 2.0 into x. So that is equal to what? That is equal to x plus x. So instead of writing 2.0 into x, we can write what? We can write as x plus x. So multiplication is costlier, whereas addition is cheaper. Then instead of writing x by 2, so division is somewhat costlier. So instead of writing with division operator, we can replace it with x into 0.5. Okay, multiplication operator is somewhat cheaper than the division operation. So we can replace the division operation with a multiplication operation. Okay, next we have to evaluate the constant expressions at compile time, and we have to replace the constant expression by their values itself. See, instead of writing an expression like this, minus 2 into 3.14, we can evaluate this expression, and what is the result of this expression? 6.28 is the answer. Instead of writing an expression like this, we can evaluate the expression and write the result itself. Okay, so this is another way of optimizing. So the DAG construction process can help us to apply this, and more general algebraic transformations such as commutative and associative laws is also applied in our DAG for eliminating the common sub-expression. Let us check with an example of how this associative laws are applied here. See, the three address statement given is A is equal to B plus C and E equal to C plus D plus B. What is the first step? The first step is we will generate the intermediate code for it. How we will generate the intermediate code? First, B plus C is evaluated and the result is stored in A. Then here we are having three variables. So first C plus D is evaluated and the result is stored in a temporary variable T. Then this T and B is added and the result is stored in E. So this is the intermediate code generated. So we can optimize this intermediate code by using associative laws. Okay. See, first expression is not changed. It is same, A equal to B plus C itself. Then here for the second expression, E equal to C plus D plus P. See, already B plus C is computed. So B plus C and C plus B is same because it is associated. So B plus C is equal to C plus B. So that is an associative law. So we can use that associative law here. So B plus C and C plus B are same. Already we have computed C plus B. So where C plus B is present? C plus B is present in A. So we can directly write A plus D here. So C plus B or B plus C, the result of B plus C is stored where? Is stored in A. So we can write A here. Instead of C plus B, we can directly use A here. So E is equal to what? E is equal to A plus D. So this is how optimization is performed by applying associative laws. Next, introduction to global data analysis. In order to do code optimization, and a good job of code generation is that compiler needs to collect information about the program as a whole and to distribute this information to each block in the flow graph. For that, compiler would take advantage of reaching definitions. So reaching definitions is nothing but knowing where a variable like A was last defined before reaching a given block in order to perform transformations. So these are A few examples of data flow informations that an optimization compiler collects by a process known as data flow analysis. Okay, in order to identify where a particular variable is defined. So that information is gathered by a compiler by utilizing what? By utilizing data flow analysis. So data flow informations can be collected by setting up and solving systems of equations of the form called data flow equation. A simple data flow equation is given here. Out of S is equal to gen of S union in of S minus kill of S. So this equation can be read as the information at the end of a statement. Information at the end of a statement is either generated within the statement or enters at the beginning and is not killed as controls flows through the statement. That is how we have to read this equation. So these equations are called as data flow equations. Okay. So the details of how data flow equations are set and solved depend on three factors. One factor is the notion of generating and killing depends on the desired information. That is, for some problems, instead of proceeding along with flow of control and defining out of S in terms of in of S, we need to proceed backwards and define in of S in terms of out of S. See, here in the previous example, we have defined in terms of what? We have defined in terms of out of S. So instead of defining like this, we can also proceed backwards and define in terms of in of. Okay. So that depends on what? Depends on desired information that we are processing. Next factor is, since data flows along control paths, data flow analysis is affected by the constructs in a program. See, in fact, when we write out of S, we implicitly assume that there is unique endpoint where control leaves the statement. In general, equations are always set up at the level of basic blocks rather than statements, because blocks do have unique endpoints. Okay, so always the data flow analysis is affected by what? Affected by the constructs in a program. Then there are separatists that go along with statements as procedure calls, assignments through pointer values, and even assignments to array variables. So these are the three factors that intimates how data flow equations are set and solved. Okay, next is points and paths. So point, within a basic block, we always talk about point. Point is between two adjacent statements as well as the point before the first statement and after the last statement. Okay, so point is defined between what? Between two adjacent statements in a block as well as before the first statement and after the last statement. So this is a flow graph. So in this flow graph, how many blocks we are having? Totally we are having 6 blocks. So now let us take a global view and consider all the points in all the blocks. Okay, so a path. So this is what? This is a path. So a path from P1 to Pn consists of what? Consists of sequence of points P1, P2 and so on up to Pn, such that for each I between 1 and n minus 1. Okay. See, for example, if there are 6 basic blocks, how many points will be there? The points will be from 1 to n minus 1. That is, for each block there will be 1 to 5 points will be there. Okay, that is what mentioned here. If in a path from P1 to Pn, how many points will be there? There will be points from 1 to n minus 1. So what is Pi? Pi is nothing but it is the point immediately preceding a statement. Okay, and Pi plus 1 is the point immediately following the statement in that block. That is Pi. Pi is the point immediately preceding the statement and Pi plus 1 is the point immediately following that statement in the same block. Or we can also say that Pi is the end of some block and Pi plus 1 is the beginning of a successor block. Next we are going to see about ambiguous definitions of X and unambiguous definitions of X. So usually a definition of variable X is what? Is a statement that assigns a value for X or may assign a value for X. So the most common forms of definitions are assignment to X and statements that read a value from an input device and store it in X. So that is called as assignment statements. These statements will certainly define a value for X and they are referred to as unambiguous definition of X. Unambiguous definition means certainly they will assign value to X. And there are certain kinds of statements that may define a value for X. So that are called as ambiguous definitions of X. So they are not certain that definitely a value will be assigned for X. So that is called as ambiguous definition. If definitely a value will be assigned for X, then that is unambiguous definition. A value may assign to X. So that is called as ambiguous definition of X. So the most useful forms of ambiguous definition of X are a call of a procedure with X as a parameter or procedure that can access X because X is in the scope of the procedure. So that is one of our ambiguous definition of X. In this case, a value will be assigned to X only if the procedure is called. If the procedure is not called, a value for X will not be assigned. So that comes under ambiguous definition of X. Another one is an assignment through a pointer that could refer to X. For example, the assignment like star q equal to y. Okay, star q equal to y. So this is what? So this is a definition of X. If it is possible that q points to X, we must assume that an assignment through a pointer is a definition of every variable. We say a definition D will reach as a point P if there is a path from the point immediately following D to P such that D is not killed along the path. That is called as reaching definition. Okay, if a definition is there and there should be a path reaching a point such that D should not be killed in the middle. The definition should be taken over through all the blocks. That is called as reaching definition. Thus a point will always be reached by an unambiguous definition. It won't use ambiguous definition and all because in ambiguous definition it is not certain that the value is assigned. Whereas in unambiguous definition only it is certain that a value is assigned. So always a point will be reached only with unambiguous definitions. Right? Next, data flow analysis of structured programs. The flow graphs for control flow constructs such as do while statements have a useful property, that is there will be a single entry point at which the control enters and a single end point where the control leaves when execution is over. That is do while statement, isn't it? We exploit this property when we talk of the definitions reaching the beginning and the end of the statements with the following syntax, that is S is equal to ID equal to E. S gives ID that is equal to E or S, and yes, if E then yes, else yes, or do S while E. And what is E? E is equal to ID plus ID or E gives ID. So this is the syntax. Let us explore the flow graphs for it. See, this is for S1 equal to S2. Okay, S1 and equal to S2. And this is for if E then S1 else S2. So if E we will go to what? We will go to S1, else we will go to S2. Okay. Then this is for first we will do S1, then while E. Then only we will apply the condition. First we will do S1, then while E. What is E? If E go to S1. So that is the condition. So this is for do while statement. Expression in this language are similar to those in the intermediate code, but the flow graphs for statements will have some restricted forms. See, here we define a portion of a flow graph called a region. So this is called a region. So this is nothing but a set of nodes which includes a header and which dominates all other nodes in the region. See here, this is the header and this dominates what? This dominates all other nodes in the region. Okay, only if the condition is checked, after executing this condition only the next blocks will be moved on, isn't it? So this becomes the header. So this dominates all other nodes in the region. And there are dummy blocks are there. So dummy blocks are nothing but there will be no statements in it and they are indicated by open circles. See here in this flow graph, here these are called as dummy blocks. So here there are no statements. Okay. So beginning points of the dummy blocks at the statements regions or the beginning, and end points. Okay. Beginning points of the dummy blocks at the statements regions or the beginning and end points. So the respective equations are inductive or syntax directed. Definitions of the sets in of S, out of S, gen of S and kill of S for all statements of S. So gen of S is nothing but is a set of definitions generated by S, while kill of S is nothing but is a set of definitions that never reach the end of S. So these are some of the points to be known while determining the flow graphs. Consider the following data flow equations for reaching definitions. S and S is equal to D equal to A equal to B plus C. See, observe the rules for a single assignment of a variable A. Surely that assignment is a definition of A, say D. Thus, gen of S is equal to what? Is equal to D. On the other hand, D kills all the other definitions of A, isn't it? Because D and A are same. So, D kills all of the definitions of A. That's why we will write like this. So, kills of S is equal to dA minus all other definitions. Okay, where dA is nothing but it is the set of all definitions in the program for variable A. Why D is killing A? Because the definition of A is overridden by what? It is overridden by D. That's why D kills all of the definitions of A here. Okay, so this is an example data flow equation. Next, computation of in and out. See, many data flow problems can be solved by synthesized translation to compute gen and kill. It can be used, for example, to determine computations. However, there are other kinds of data flow information such as reaching definition problems. It turns out that in is an inherited attribute and out is a synthesized attribute depending on in. So, we intend that in of S be the set of definitions reaching the beginning of S, taking into account the flow of control throughout the entire program, including statements outside of S or within which S is needed. Okay, so that is what in of S and out of S will do. So the set out of S is defined similarly for the end of S. So out of S is nothing but end of S. It is important to note the distinction between out of S and gen of S. Okay, so gen of S is the set of definitions that reach the end of S without following paths outside S. Okay, it helps to reach the end of S. Next, let us discuss the data flow analysis in compiler. So it is the analysis of flow of data in control flow graph, that is the analysis that determines the information regarding the definition and use of data in program. So with the help of this analysis, optimization can be done. In general, it's process in which values are computed using data flow analysis. So the data flow property represents information which can be used for optimization, right? Next, let us discuss about the basic terminologies used in data flow analysis. The first terminology is definition point. It is nothing but a point in a program that contains some definition, that is called as definition point. Then reference point. Reference point is nothing but a point in a program containing a reference to a data item, that is called as reference point. And evaluation point is nothing but it is a point in a program that contains evaluation of an expression. Okay, that is evaluation point. See, let us check with an example. See, in this example, L1 equal to A, L1 is a label, L1 is A equal to 2. Here a variable is defined. So this is a definition point. And if we check here in label 2, B equal to A. So we are assigning some values to B. So here we are referring what? We are referring the value of A. So this is a reference point. And here in label 3, Z is equal to X plus Y. Here some expression is evaluated. So obviously this is what? This is an evaluation point. If a value is defined, that point is a definition point. If a value is referred, that point is a reference point. If an expression is evaluated, that point is a evaluation point in a data flow graph. Next, let us check with data flow properties. So first property is available expression. The expression is said to be available at a program point x if along paths it's reaching to x. So that is called as available expression. An expression is available at its evaluation point. See, for example, expression a plus b is said to be available if none of the operands get modified before their use. So that is called as available expression. You will be very clear when we check with an example. So the example we have taken is this one. See here, in the first L1 equal to 4 into I, that is evaluated in block B1. Then B2, y equal to x plus d of L1. Okay, we are using what? We are using L1 and L2 equal to 4 into I. So this expression 4 into I is available where? It is available in block B2 as well as it is available in block B3. So that is called as available expression. So it should be available. So none of the operations should be modified before they are used. So that is called as available expression. So the advantage of available expression is it is used to eliminate common sub-expression. Next is reaching definition. We have already discussed reaching definition. So reaching definition, nothing but a definition D is reaches a point x if there is a path from D to x in which D is not killed. Okay, that is called as reaching definition. There should be a path from D to x and D should not be killed in the middle. That is called as reaching definition. For example, see in this example, D1 is equal to x equal to 4. That is block B1. And D2 is x is equal to x plus 2 in block B2. And in D3, y equal to x plus 2. That is B3. See here, D1 is a reaching definition for D2 because the value of x is used here. But that is not a reaching definition for D3 because here the value of x is changed. Okay, the value of D1 is killed in D2, is killed in block B2 because the value of x is changed here. So what is the value of x in D1? It is 4. So now 4 is used in B2. Okay, 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. Now what is the value of x? X is equal to 6. D1 is used in block B2. What is D1? 4. X is equal to 4 is D1. So that is used in B2. Whereas in B2, what is the x value? 6. Okay. So D1 is used in block B2. Whereas in D3, this x is only used. What is this x? 6 is the value. So 6 plus 2 equal to 8. So y contains 8. So the value of D1 is a reaching definition for B2, block B2, but it is not for block B3 because it is killed by D2. Okay, can you understand what is mean by reaching definition? There should be a path from a point to a definition and that definition should not be killed in the middle. That is called as reaching definition. The advantage of this reaching definition is that it is used in constant and variable propagation. Next, live variable. A variable is said to be live at some point P if from P to end of the variable, a variable is said to be live at some point P if from P to end the variable is used before it is redefined. Okay, else it becomes end. For example, see here, in this example, A equal to 4, that is in block B1, C is equal to 7, block B2, B equal to 5 in block B3. Then here in block B4, we are evaluating an expression U equal to A plus B. So A, the block B1's A is used here and the block B3's B is used here. Okay. Then whereas in block B5, A equal to C plus U. So what is C? 7 is the value of C and what is U? It is stored in block B4. Okay. Here the value of A is changed. So the value of A, the first value of A, that is A equal to 4, is live at block B1, block B3 and block B4. So in these three places, the value of A is live, whereas it is killed in block B5 because the value of A is changed here, is changed in B5. So the value of A is dead or it is not live in block B5. So that is called as live variables, and the advantage of live variables is useful for register allocation, and it is also used in dead code elimination. Next, busy expression. So an expression is busy along a path if its evaluation exits along the path. Okay, in complete path its evaluation should be there, and none of its operand definition exits before its evaluation along the path. Okay, that is called as busy expression. That is the operands, all the operands present in an expression should be completely live throughout its cycle of evaluation, and none of the value of the operands should be changed in the middle. That is called as busy expression. And the advantage of busy expression is it is used for performing code movement optimization. So these are the various data flow analysis in compiler. Along with the basic blocks and flow graphs, we need to check the further optimization, how a particular basic block could be optimized, and what are the different ways by which a flow graph could be analyzed. So that is what we have seen in today's class.
Okay guys, let me meet you all with another interesting lecture. Bye-bye.